We're at that point of the year once again where a plethora of promises are thrown left, right, and center by politicians as they seek for power to govern the country in the next 4 years. Well, the MPP went to Takoradi to launch their manifesto, and sports took a center stage in many of the things that were promised by the flag bearer of the party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. His promise to set up what they call a secretariat for school sports. He's also promising buses for Ghana Premier League clubs. They also want to upgrade the pitches, build new stadium for the newly created regions, which is the new 6 regions. And what it means is that if that is done, there will be more sporting infrastructure to help with the development of sports in the country. But the major question is, over the years, there have been promises upon promises made. As you and I speak, since March 2018, this current government rolled out an initiative that was meant to build multi-purpose use resource centers across the country. And many of those resource centers have become breeding grounds for reptiles. Also, one cannot forget about the fact that in 2017, under the leadership of Isaac Esiama, the Ministry of Youth and Sports decided to roll out what they called a sports fund. That conversation took place at the Accra International Conference Center. It was a consultative meeting, and some of us were privileged to be there to cover that consultative meeting. Well, the conversation was to set up a sports fund. What has become of that sports fund to the extent that the leader of the MPP is also promising to set up a sports fund? Is it duplicity of sports funds that they want to create? How feasible is these promises being made by the MPP flag bearer? Well, my colleague Victor Achutamaklo will be going to the screen to give you a Joy Sports editorial of the promises that have been made. But also on the show, we'll have Karim come join us here to bring you up to speed about what Ghanaian players have been up to as the new European season kickstarts. Chelsea suffered a defeat. Manchester United started with a win. Liverpool won. Arsenal won. Just gone by, Spurs and Leicester City. Abdul Fattah Issahaku played the entire duration of that contest as Leicester drew 1-1 against Tottenham Hotspur. We've got these and many more here on Sports Zone with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. Show proudly brought to you by Kivo 4-in-1 Gary and Syntex Tank, tough and strong, and also Guinness Ghana Limited. We are back in the jiffy with details of tonight's edition of Sports Zone. From the break, this is Sports Zone. I am Muftau Nabila Abla. Show proudly brought to you by Kivo 4-in-1 Gary Showcase. It is a reason why Mohamed Kudus over the weekend contributed. Though his contribution was not enough to get a win for West Ham United, but as a Nima boy there, Gary, it is part of his DNA. It's the reason why, in fact, as I'm seated here, I am belly full because of Kivo Gary. I ate Kivo Gary just a couple of minutes ago. You can ask Ticho. He saw me eating the Gary. Are you hungry right now? So Kivo Gary is the easiest meal that you can get right now. If you're just hungry, just go out to a provision shop near you and get Kivo 4-in-1 Gary. And it has everything that you need. There's a Gary, there's sugar, there's peanut or granite, as some of you would prefer to call it. So, and there's milk as well in it. So you just need water, just get it, pour it in your cup, water, and you're good to go, and you'll be satisfied. So you can enjoy it at the office, you can enjoy it if you're a student, wherever. Provided you are just busy and you think that for you to get something to eat, it will take a while, Kivo Gary is the easiest thing for you. And also, Syntex Tank. What is your preferred color of tank? Syntex Tank, they have it. What guarantee do you want? Syntex Tank has it. What kind of inner layer do you want? Do you want a double, a triple, quadruple? As many layers as you want, Syntex has it too. So remember, no matter your water needs, Syntex has it. So you can get in touch with us on 0244 335168. We've got about 300 agents nationwide. So if you call this number, we'll link you up with any of the agents wherever you are located or your domicile. So you can just go there and get your preferred tank that you want from Syntex Tank. So You can also go online on our social media pages. It's Syntex Ghana or at www.syntexgh.com. And you will be fully served. And also do not forget, Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited are part of the family for Sports Zone. On Sunday, if you were glued to your television set, or if you're not even glued to your television set, you might have read the stories. A plethora of promises have been made by the flag bearer of the MPP for this year's presidential elections, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. According to him, if he's voted president of this country, Ghana Premier League clubs, if you're owner of one, you get a bus. They will upgrade the pitches. They will also Operation Olympics 2028. That's quite an interesting one. They want to start now. I'm wondering why they didn't start 4 years ago, so that this edition would have gone out there to win a medal for the country. But they want to start anyway. What matters is that there is going to be a start. Let's hear from Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. When we come back, my colleague Victor Achutamaklo will be standing by to share with us what the analysis of Joy Sports is when it comes to these promises being made. Because we have gone through many promises made by different governments, and in fact, specifically this government. Their manifesto for 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, and now 2024. Victor Achutamaklo will bring a Joy Sports editorial on those promises made by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Let's hear from him.
Of the nation's huge potentials in various sports and disciplines, Ghana has relatively underachieved at the Olympics, winning only 5 medals in history and only 1 medal in the Fourth Republic at the Tokyo Olympics 3 years ago. To stem this tide and realize Ghana's huge sports potentials, Dr. Bawumia has announced a comprehensive development plans by his future government, including sustainable funding, development programs, and an Olympic-specific program. Speaking at the launch of the MPP manifesto in Takoradi on Sunday, Dr. Bawumia said his government will start an Operation Olympics Glory program by dedicating resources towards the preparation and readiness of athletes to the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, USA.
We are going to start an Operation Olympics Glory program by dedicating resources towards the preparation of our athletes and their readiness for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, USA, including where necessary, targeting specific sports for medals.
As part of a broader sports development vision, Dr. Bawumia also announced the establishment of a Ghana School Sports Secretariat along with a sports development fund to facilitate the growth of the sector.
We will establish a Ghana School Sports Secretariat, which will be an agency under the ministry responsible for sports in collaboration with other stakeholders such as the GES and sports federations. My government will seek school-level collaboration with international sports bodies like the NBA and the NFL to make Ghana a hub for these emerging sports in Africa.
On his plan to help the Ghana Premier League clubs, Dr. Bawumia says he will help the clubs with logistics and provide support for the club's operation and player remunerations.
We will support the revival of the Premier League and clubs to improve commercial viability and create related jobs by directing policy through the National Lotteries Authority and the Gaming Commission to establish and fund a sports employment module to assist premier clubs fund operational expenses, including player remuneration. And also we will provide a bus to each Premier League club.
Meanwhile, some have questioned the flag bearer's commitment to fulfilling these promises due to the inability of his party to fulfill all of its promises for the sector in the last 7.5 years. However, the party has assured of its commitment to deliver outstanding and new promises, insisting it has contributed the most to sports development in the last few years.
Hey, the promise is there, tough. Tough like Syntex tank. Hey, Sicho, you had these promises, including the one the guy said they've created 21 million jobs.
Yeah, it makes me wonder.
What is our population actually that they've created 21 million jobs and we don't get some?
35 million people in this country. What that means, though, is if it is true that they've created that number of jobs, what it essentially means is people are doing multiple. No. I'm just saying.
Don't add grammar to this one. 21 million jobs.
No, I'm saying that if it is true that they've created 21 million jobs, what it essentially means is that there are about people doing 4 government jobs at a time. So you can have a few people doing the 21 million jobs because on the face value, we can't see the jobs. You get it? We can't see the jobs, and that's the fact.
No, let's talk sports. Let's talk sports.
Yeah, now let's talk sports. But I wonder if they've created, the jobs, the sports, the sporting sector or the youth ministry is also part of the job creation because we want to see. But yeah, that is what the speech said. 21 million jobs have been created.
But on a more serious note, imagine my tax, being used to buy a bus for a Ghana Premier League team.
Look, a lot of the sports policies were populist, not necessarily factual. And for me, every manifesto is words. I want to see where the funding is going to come from. I want to see who is paying for it. For all you know, it's not tax money. For all you know, government is going to solicit for some funds.
For all you know, he secured some deal somewhere. That
absolutely. So when these promises are made, they are just words, right, at the start. But you want to see the working document that backs it. So if you're telling me you're going to buy buses for clubs, how are you going to acquire those buses? Where is the funding? You're telling me you're going to be paying, you're going to be forming an Olympic preparatory something. I want to know what that means. Where's the funding coming from? How do you select these athletes? It's just grammar when you put some paper like that. Because what we know how to do best in this country is how to put these words on paper. But what we don't know how to do as a country is how to roll these things out. So, and I'm sure when I tweet this on how Joy Sports has put together or perused that sporting promises, a lot of details will be coming out from there.
So many details are going to come out. Especially one of them is a sports fund he spoke about 7 years ago. I remember when I was with my former employee, we went to the Accra International Conference Center to cover a consultative meeting put together by the Ministry of Youth and Sport because they wanted to put out what they call a sports fund. Yeah. Now we have been promised the creation of another sports fund. So I'm wondering, sometimes I get confused. You have multi-purpose youth research centers across the country that you've not completed. Those that we are made to understand are completed. Many of them have been abandoned and in fact, they are rotting away.
The biggest problem with...
You want to go and build a new stadium?
The biggest problem with the sports manifesto, other sectors, I'm not well versed, I'm not going to go into it. My IT background tells me a lot of the things they are saying they will do in digitization doesn't work, but let's stick to sports for now on the desk. Now, the problem I have with a lot of the things that have been said in the manifesto is, because it is still the sitting government, I was expecting that a lot of the things he was going to say per his policy and per his promises were going to be continuing some good works that they had done.
Okay.
Now, if you've been given 8 years... yes. So if you've been given 8 years, and before you came into power, you promised something in sports, and when you had your second term, you promised something in sports, in seeking a re-election, the same party seeking a re-election, I was looking at a manifesto that was going to tell us that when we came into power in 2016, we did A, B, C, D, and when he gave us the power to continue, that is where we've arrived. And so we need the power again to reach here. It's almost as if the last 8 years, they've done absolutely nothing in sports or nothing else, and they are creating a whole new thing. And that is something I would expect the opposition party to perhaps say. But if you have the power, and in the last 8 years you've been running our sports, I'm trying to listen to, I'm trying to hear you tell me the things you started and the things you need more time in power to complete. I had none of that, and that is where my biggest disappointment comes from. And I'm asking, what happened to the sports promises in 2016? What happened to the sports promises in the last election? And why do we have new ones? Why should anybody trust it? Only time will tell.
Joy Sports have got answers. And my colleague, Victor Achutamaklo, is standing by. Victor, you're close to this screen. Yes. What is on that screen?
Quite a bit. I love what Sicho did and how he started, because he mentions the fact that at the very least on Sunday, we should have heard Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP tout their credentials in the area of sports, what they've accomplished over the past 8 years, and then tell us perhaps what were the setbacks and why they were not able to perhaps get to where they envision themselves in 8 years. And based on that knowledge and experience, and having fine-tuned everything that they set out to do, this is what they believe they will be able to accomplish, right? So that will be taking us from 2016 or January 2017, when they came to power, what they have done, and where they intend to take us forward. But while we did not get that, and we disagree with the way things went, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's position was very consistent with his general approach throughout this campaign period in terms of clearly creating a departure from norm, distancing himself from the current government. And so if you go to social media, you'd realize a lot of people are saying, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia speaks as if he's in opposition. So he says a lot of things that get you thinking, are you not part of government? This was very consistent with that, in the sense that there is no continuity from what we have experienced in the past 8 years and what he wants to do. So he doesn't even talk about any of the things they have attempted to do. He doesn't talk about any of the things they have done, because they've done something. But the significance of that is what we're here to interrogate. And then also help you understand why you may not have to take some of these things he said seriously. Some of the things he has said
why
cannot, because there is a history of what they have done in the past 8 years, right? There is a history of what they promised in 2016. So you'd realize that by the end of this, you come to the conclusion that some of the things they said were directly lifted from the 2016 and 2020 manifestos.
Okay, so in other words, these were promises made, never executed.
Repeated promises.
So we can take it this way. They made promises in 2016,
yes,
made promises in 2020. Because they were not able to execute them,
yes,
they are probably lifting them to 2024, hoping that they can execute them if they are given power.
They essentially reworded what they've already told us, but failed to do in the past.
Take us through what you have.
Yesterday, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia spoke about using tax incentives, including a flat tax to incentivize private sector investment in sports, tourism, and creative arts facilities. Sounds very colorful on paper, but you have to lift it from the paper and look at its feasibility and how practical it is. At the heart of that has to be the value that exists in the Ghana Premier League, or in Ghana football, or in sports in Ghana. That will make a private investor attempt to invest into sports. Yeah. Value that they think they can recoup, because these are not Father Christmas. They are not Santa Claus. Whatever investment they make, they expect a windfall. The second part that I found a bit problematic, and it's a repeated promise, we'll come to that, is the idea that they were going to establish a sports development fund to develop sports infrastructure, talent, and grassroots sports programs, including reviving coach football. Again, on paper, this sounds fantastic, but you find it difficult to believe, because if you go back into 2016, we had the same promise. If you go back into 2020, there was a similar campaign promise. In the 8 years that the NPP has had, for a larger part, majority in parliament. So if you have majority in parliament, you can push your way through in terms of policy. And once you are in power, you can take some of these decisions to cabinet and then get approval. So the conditions have been in place for the NPP to have essentially gone out there and put forward a sports fund. In the 8 years that this government has been in power, we have not had the sports fund. In the 8 years, we have not seen the NPP move away from the sloganeering into actualizing, and pardon the repetition, of what they have put on paper. So if they had started, perhaps if this had gone to Parliament and they had met roadblocks, or if they had started implementing it, at this point, the conversation would have been the funding sources or the revenue streams that will form that central sports fund, or the attempts to implement it and the roadblocks, so that we'll be talking about how best to move past those roadblocks, or the revenues that we are realizing annually, what they are able to fund, what they are able to take care of. So you are able to situate that in the broader context of looking at the sports development plan or program that we have and how much of it the sports fund is able to. At the moment, we are still relying on the consolidated fund. And that is why some of our athletes have to qualify for the Olympics by themselves. That is why, for Bahamas, Ghana's athletes needed to pre-finance the cost
part of their participation
at those games. And it's all because the country does not have money. So when you go to the finance ministry will tell you that we cannot dip our hand into the consolidated fund. If it is a Black Stars, of course, there is a public interest matter there. So the finance ministry will be compelled to. We cannot afford to hear that Kudus Mohammed did not have a ticket to fly to come and play a Black Stars match, and so the Black Stars are not going to play. It won't happen. But if it is not the Black Stars, that is when you see the problem that the lack of commitment has created. The third point, it says that to upgrade the surfaces of our football pitches to meet the highest international. If you wanted proof that this was not a well thought through document, if you wanted proof that this was a poorly consulted document or a document that was created without proper consultation, because when you're coming out with something like this, you run your ideas through industry experts. They'll talk you through the feasibility of these. How many of those ideas are outdated? How many of those are practical? How many of those are ideas that are consistent or marriable with the problems of the day? So some of the ideas on their own may not be terrible, but if they are not able to solve any of the problems we have, when you speak to experts, they will tell you this may be a good idea for a different context, for a different country, but for Ghana, it does not solve any of our problems. This is one of those ideas. You know why? There's something called the National Sports Authority. They have, in fact, if you want to talk about the functioning arm of the sports ministry, that is the National Sports Authority. Yeah. They are the entity entrusted with managing state assets. In our iteration, what we've come to know of the National Sports Authority is that they are an ineffective organization headed by incompetent people. That is the public perception of the NSA. And it is mainly because they are poorly funded. In fact, as we speak, the Baba Yara Sports Stadium in 17 days is going to host the Black Stars versus Cabo Verde qualifier, the very first of the next series. The playing surface is a mess. And it's because the NSA is forced to use events other than sporting events to raise revenue, which is not even enough to manage the facility anyway. So in 17 days, this is what the Black Stars will be playing at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium.
No, it will be better than this.
This is the current state of the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. So if Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's manifesto is to be believed, if the ideas there are credible, why don't you give those ideas to the state agency already mandated to manage these assets? They specifically mentioned the playing surfaces. This is the current state of the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. If those ideas are not good now, how do we trust that those ideas will be good in 6 months' time when you become president? We cannot put our development on hold. There is too much at stake. We are getting to the point where, and as we speak, for those who are not interested in sports and so do not follow it that much, Ghana does not have a single FIFA-certified football stadium or football.
So let's say a category 4.
We don't have any that meets the CAF or FIFA standards. If you want to check all of the boxes, we don't have any. What we do is that they will give us provisional license, right? They will waive off some of the conditions that you are supposed to meet before your facilities get approved. But we don't have it. So we'll patch it up occasionally. A few months ago, we saw the pictures of the Tamale Sports Stadium, the pitch where they were putting cow dung and stuff on it, and fecal matter, essentially to get the pitch up to speed. Now let's move on to the other things that they promised in yesterday's manifesto, right? And then we quickly move on to what we saw in 2016. So here in 2016, they talk about modernizing sports through the provision of the right legal framework by enacting comprehensive sports bill. As for the sports bill, you know enough about it. So
initiated under President Kufuor.
We're not going to waste that. But let's flip on and look at...
And that in 2016 made a lot of sense, because what that would have meant is when President Kufuor initiated it and was out of office in 2008, the NDC came and they didn't
do anything about it. So we want to continue.
But before they left, I remember the last parliament under the Mahama administration hurriedly passed the sports bill.
But what they are trying to say in the 2016 manifesto is that because that wasn't necessarily implemented under the NDC, when they come into power, they will do it.
Exactly.
They've had 8 years.
Yeah, they've had 8 years. Now,
but to be fair to them, they have 7. They are not 8 yet. January 2017, and we are in 2024, so 7 years. To be fair to them, yeah.
But enough time to have done this. But Bernard, let's skip to the repeated promises, just so we'll show listeners a pattern of why I say that there's very little in this manifesto that is to be believed, right? Because you have to situate the conversation in the context. You just cannot come and stand here and say that you don't believe what they are saying. But if someone says they are going to do this, they've had 8 years to, at least according to Mutao, 7 years to implement this. We did not see the sports fund. We did not see an empowered National Sports Authority.
To maintain our facilities.
No, we didn't see any of that. Now, this is what looks very outlandish. Supports the arrival of the Premier League clubs and improve commercial viability. Creates jobs, which they say sports employment module to assist Premier League clubs fund their operational. So are you going to take ownership of some of these clubs after making this kind of investment into them? And where is the money going to come from? And again, questions about funding and the sources of funding. Now, they talk about building a 5,000-seater capacity standard stadiums for the new regions. You know the irony of this? I lived in Takoradi for 27 years. Where I grew up, is Kadiketem constituency. It's part of the STMA, the Sekeni Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly. That was where the manifesto event was launched. That place has one of the most iconic facilities in Ghanaian football infrastructure called the Jindu Park. It's a death trap now. In fact,
they are going to scrap it and construct a road over there.
In the middle of Jindu Park.
Yeah.
In the same western region, you have the Esipon Sports Stadium. The last time a prominent personality spoke about that was Keanu Furiata, when he lied and said the facility was about 90% complete. But we've seen that also.
Is it where he lied? Did he lie?
What he said was not consistent with the reality, if that's what makes you comfortable. But in the end, what he said was not true. The idea that those facilities are decaying, and it's taking a lot of anger, it's taking a lot of protest and public backlash for them to even attempt.
And in fact, actually not to cut you, it's taking a lot of stories from us here for even the government to question our commitment to the development of this country by going to do those stories. And we're often tagged as anti-government because we flew a drone to capture all the things that were happening inside the stadium.
But when now the manifesto says or reads that they're going to construct 5,000 capacity stadia across all regions.
The newly created regions.
The newly created regions. My big question, my big question is, the ones that they are doing now, that over the last 4 years or 5 years, it's not been able to...
6 years.
Over the last 6 years, they've not been able to complete. What's the word on them? Because they are getting rotten there. They are almost bush places now. The facility is gone. The seats are bad. What should have been the pitch is now a forest. What should have been tracks are now full of dust and a lot of things. So that is my big worry. Look, it's a massive worry for Ghana, because if you're going to construct 6 extra for newly created regions, my big ask is what happened to the ones that are already in construction that you've not been able to complete?
Let me answer you. They failed to deliver on that promise once again. Now, I have been to quite a number of them. Of the 10, only one was commissioned. That was in December last year, Koforidua. Now, even Koforidua has issues because there's been some questions about the tracks.
Yeah.
There's been questions about the playing surface and all of that. But as we speak, that is something you can use at least for the schools and colleges games. But apart from that, no other facility has been completed. We have issues where the District Assembly's Common Fund, where we're getting 5%. So the Act 939 that set up the NYA is indicated that 5% from the District Assembly's Common Fund will be used to fund the operations of the National Youth Authority. Unfortunately, and I spoke to the administrator of the DACF, Natoshi Ado, and she said, and here's the irony. In December of last year, President Akufo-Addo said he was going to speak to the DACF to release funds for the completion of these projects. I spoke to the DACF. Natoshi Ado told me that they had other priorities. In fact, they had priorities, not other priorities. So when they have attended to the things that they deem to be important to them and they have disposable income, they may consider the National Youth Authority. So there is no money, essentially, to fund this. And we're in campaign season. Party needs money to finish projects that they think are important to them, that they will show to the people of Ghana that this is what we have done. So if Bernard will quickly show us the videos from Ho and Axim and those places before we come, just listeners to get a sense of what we are talking about, because if you say you are going to build new infrastructure, well, this is what you started. The president said Ho was complete in December of last year. He said Ho was complete. I saw something like, unfortunately, because you say I shouldn't say they lie, it was another statement.
If they lie, they lie. Let's say it's a lie.
Which was not consistent with the reality. This was Koforidua. I was at Axim as well. It is nothing to write home about.
Who hosted the sit match parade?
So we patched it up
6 years ago.
It was not ready. We
months
patched
ago.
it up for the 6 March independence celebrations last year. Unfortunately, this is the current state, and it is going to cost more to restore this facility, to restore Ho, to restore the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex, to restore all of the others across the country that have been abandoned because there is no money. It is good. The fact that we've not been able to raise enough money to complete these projects is now going to cost us a bit more, and this is Axim. Axim was supposed to have been completed in May 2023. I joined Pius Ajide and a group of journalists to that facility last year.
Yeah.
At the time, it was about 80% complete.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the money required to push it over 100% has not been given. And so this is the current state of that facility. So if you do not have money to finish facilities that do not cost even up to $5 million, because even for the Koforidua that we're told cost a little over $2 million, there are those who are talking about inflated costs and budgets and all of that. But I'm saying, assuming that figure is true, if you do not have enough money to complete a facility that costs less than $4 million, where are you going to find the revenue from to build 5 new stadiums?
Okay, so let me just help you something briefly. Last year, I did RTI request to the National Youth Authority to demand answers as to how much has been expended on the facilities. On the one in Ho, they got 10,225,805.53 Ghana cedis. We're told it is 90% complete.
Yeah.
The Youth Research Center in Koforidua, the one you just brought us, they had received 11,186,220.35%. We're told it's 94% complete. And that was why they hardly went to organize the Independence Day celebration over there. The one in Wa, they received 13,063,245.77. We're told it's 90% complete. The one in Axim, the one you just brought us recently, they had spent 12,374,290. It was 95% complete. That was the time you toured it. Then the one in Doma, they had spent 15,804,892.82%, 90% complete. The one in Yendi, they had spent 10,220,049 Ghana cedis, 0.88. Then the one in Navrongo, they had spent 10,469,298. Kaneshi here, just here. They had spent 12,058,380.99%. They said it was 50% complete. The one in Nahin, they spent 13,662,772.
I think it all summed up to 190 million cedis.
Yes.
That's how much. But the funding ended at the end of third quarter 2023. That's when the DACF said, enough of this nonsense. We're not doing it again. Now, in 2016, just to bring you back to some of the things they have said and why I said...
The repeated promises.
Yes, it was difficult for me to believe that they were now going to do it because you've had 7 years to do what you said you were going to do. In 2016 was the first time they mentioned this issue of private sector involvement, using tax incentives, including a tax flat rate. That time the wording was different. That's why in the beginning, when I said a lot of the things they told us are things they simply have reworded from what they told us some 8 years
previous manifestos.
Encouraging the private sector to provide funding for sports through establishment of incentive packages. So you see the investments and incentive, again, creating a sports fund to support the financing of... See, as for the creating of the sports fund, it's a brilliant idea. How they do not have the commitment to do it, it beats my imagination, because it will be, to borrow Keto Kreku's expression, a game changer for us, because having a sports fund with realistic and reliable revenue sources. Look, it changes everything, because as we speak, over 90% of the sports ministry's budget is swallowed by salaries and compensations. When they pay monies that they owe people, salaries and those, it is done. There is no money. That's why even for Black Stars matches, we have to go into the consolidated.
And we owe our coaches for months.
So we're only praying that I'm hoping we are all wrong and that they would actually be able to do this. If they do and are able to implement this sports fund, fantastic. In 2016, they also promised to pursue the vision of providing modern multi-sport stadia for the regions currently without one. So when I spoke about the stadiums, and I said, you've told us this before, this was it. 2016, they said they were going to build stadiums in Bono Ahafo, Eastern Region, Upper East, Upper West, Volta Region. They failed. And there was no sense of accountability yesterday for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to say, this is why we could not build what we said we were going to do in 2016.
So in fact, they have actually abandoned the previous regions that did not have. Now they want to build for newly created regions.
So they have, sorry for the laughter, but they have abandoned that, and as you say, are now going to do for the newly. So if you're watching us, the simple question you need to ask Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP is, this is what you said in 2016. You didn't do it. You have not explained why you could not do this. Why should we believe you? What is the basis for us to believe that what you said you will do and you have abandoned without any explanation, this time you're not going to pull a fast one on us again? Because they also have mentioned that they are going to do it at the new regions. And then the establishment of the sports fund, we've already explained that in 2016 they said it, they've not. And then youth and school sports developing in partnership with the private sector, youth development, again, rehashed, reworded campaign promises that they have failed to deliver on. Perhaps the only new thing is what they said they were going to create, the Olympic Glory projects.
Okay.
And my question is simple. We, under the current government, under the Mahmoud Bawumia and the President Akufo-Addo government, have been through 2 Olympic cycles. If there was any plan, if there was any interest in developing Olympians, in creating an enabling environment for athletes, why have they not done so up until this point? Where is the plan for athlete empowerment and the structures that support our athletes? And if you look at our performances in 2020 in Tokyo, and then what we did in Paris, you would see a sharp decline. And it's not as if we were great in Tokyo anyway. If you look back on that performance, beyond Samuel Techi and the sprint team, what really was there to celebrate? So that was the event where you could say, okay, let's draw the line. This is as bad as it gets, right? And restart the system. But we did not. And Paris was painful because our athletes literally went on a begging spree. After they bought their own tickets to Bahamas to go and participate and secure qualification, after pre-financing that trip, they literally begged on national TV, begged Gary and Fentio Tari Fentio that we need the sports ministry to provide a solid pre-tournament campaign for us. What did we do? We failed to send Rosie Abue's coach to Paris. This country, the sports ministry said, we could not fund the cost of hiring a trainer for 3 weeks before the Olympic Games and an extra 10 days. Here's the thing. The entire Olympic Games itself is an 18-day event. Yeah. The entire Olympic Games is an 18-day event. So if you're going to hire a coach for that purpose, you're at most going to hire them for between 4 and 6 weeks. So plus or minus 4 weeks or 5 weeks before the event, and then some extra week into the games. We said we did not have money. The sports industry did not have money to pay for Rosie Abue's coach. As a result of that, someone who cleared a mark of 1.95 in June A few weeks later, could not clear the same mark.
It was actually 1.97
in June. And that, here's the thing, 1.95 was good enough to win bronze for her. For someone at the Olympic Games in Paris. So if there was a plan to develop athletes, to develop sports, particularly with regards to the Olympic Games, that is where we should have seen it. Because we've been through 2 Olympic cycles. And that is why this idea seems like an afterthought, that this is what is in vogue.
Maybe because we are in Olympic years, let's just have something for them.
But you see, even with, and no, there's nothing wrong with actually speaking in tune with the times. It actually shows that you can feel the pulse of the nation. The only problem is that this policy does not show a reflection of the actual conversation on Ghana's participation at the Olympic Games. So it does not speak to the issue of providing the structures that will support our athletes. In the last 10 years, Ghana is producing all-timers, generational talents, not only in adjectives and descriptions, but also in terms of performances, because we've had the long jump record broken, we've had the high jump record broken, we've had the 100-meter event record broken, 200 meters.
200 meters has been broken 3 times.
3 times. 800-meter record broken. And that's an athlete that we've ostracized.
400 meters broken.
It just goes to show you that the potential is there. The only issue is that all of these were done when the athletes were in school. So when they have access to the universities who are paying for accommodation, are taking care of their training,
and providing the best of facilities to train and
trainers. So you don't have to pay for the trainers when you are on scholarship, when you're a student athlete. So they have the best of those. They come down here, excel, break the national records. The problem, however, is when they leave school. And that is when Benjamin Azamati transitions from being the lover boy of Ghana athletes into spokesman. The man that people love to mock and make fun of because he's no longer matching the heights that he was reaching when he was in university. And it's only because once you leave school, you have to pay for your own trainers. You have to pay to enter into competitions because once you turn professional, you can't compete with student athletes again. You have to pay for the World Championships. That's why while we sent Rosie Yeboah into Cape Coast to go and prepare for the Olympic Games, her friends and her colleagues were at the Diamond League in Monaco. Where was Joseph Paul?
And in fact, one of them, that Ukrainian lady who won the gold medal, she broke a 37-year-old record in the women's high jump when she cleared the bar at 1.15. So imagine Rosie Yeboah was also given an opportunity to train and compete with her, probably. Having jumped 1.97, if she was never going to maintain that, then she was never going to drop.
So at the end of the day,
tonight
even that Olympic promise, it is lovely, but there's a reason people are not jumping in ecstasy, because they've seen 2 Olympic cycles under this government, and they have seen the approach. They have seen how, in Gold Coast, it had to take a citizen, in fact, an influencer, to organize a fundraiser to buy cycles, the rights fiber optic cycles, carbon fiber cycles for Ghana's athletes at the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast. I'm sorry, but there's not a lot to believe from this particular document that the NPP produced yesterday.
Not a lot to believe. But one thing you can believe certainly is that 2016, 2020, they keep lifting the same thing. So 2024, as you explained, we've seen the same thing.
But you see, it's good. You see, no, there's something about the manifestos that's, it's not only the MPP's manifesto. I'm sure the NDSU's manifesto will come soon. I mean, their manifesto launch will be up soon. So we'll also see what they want to say. But truth of the matter is...
And we'll be here again for
Oh, for sure. You see, truth of the matter is that these things that are in the manifesto, they are good ideas. The ideas are good. On paper, they are good.
But the commitment...
So what that tells me is that our leaders know the problem that confronts us and perhaps some of the things they need to do to solve these problems. It is the doing that is the problem. You see, they know the problem, they know what to do. But doing it is the problem because we know that when we want to win things at the Olympics, it is a special national project. Like every country takes Olympic athletes as a national project. So they know this. So when you bring that into the manifesto, it makes me think that you guys know the problems we have and perhaps how to solve it. When you tell me that we need about 5,000 capacity stadium in regions, it makes sense. Because I've always said that Ghana, we don't need the 40,000 capacity. It's unnecessary. If we have about 40, 50 in the country, we are okay. If you have about 5,000 across the regions, perfect. Football clubs can use it, and school sports can use it. So you guys, you know these things. You also know that the Premier League clubs, they struggle. So you have to find a way of injecting, whether directly or indirectly, some inflows to cushion the Premier League clubs so that the more they develop, the more sustainable they become. And then it creates jobs for the sports football ecosystem. So they know these things. But my disappointment is, in 2008, some of these things have been said. 2012, 2016, 2020. We are in 2024.
In fact,
the same things are being said.
I saw a post from Sadiq Adams that said that governments have been promising Sunyani a stadium since 1998.
You see, you've been saying these things over and over and over again. The ideas, we love them. We know you have the ideas. Because when I look at some of the ideas, I know they solve problems. Some of them, they are populist. Some of them, Ibikasa. But some, I know it solves problems. So when you have the power, like you've had in the last, like you said, 7 years, you should have done something to solve the problem. As we speak, Ghana's sports is worse off than it was 7 years ago. So what really have you solved? Have you helped sports in any way? And why should anybody believe that this new copycat is going to solve any problems? You see, that is where my problem is. Apart from that, the ideas are great, but every time we keep coming back to ideas on paper, show working.
Just like every time we go back to the drawing board that is never
show working. Show working.
We're taking a quick break. When we come back, Adil Karim Benin, the gentleman who has going to buy new sneakers for this very show. Hey, I was shocked when I
Charlie, today for showing legs. I see the sneaker on cut.
Hey, he go show the legs. He go capture the legs. He go show them. We are back shortly after this break. To Sports Zone here. I am Muftar Nabila Abdullah. We have been receiving your messages on the editorial that was put out by my colleague Victor Achitamaklo. This message from Tiablus in Suhum. He says that as a Ghanaian, listening to AQ on the analysis he's doing, I'm just feeling sad. Which kind of country is this? And this one, Mark Julius from Latabio Koshi. Hey, are you around the school I attended, LB3? If you are from there, send me a message. I'll come and look for you. He said, good evening, Sports Zone. The only thing Ghanaian politicians can do is to create, loot, and share our money. Please, be kind. Create, loot, and share. We don't have any evidence as well to create, loot, and share. These are just like things we threw out in there. And then Adams Mohammed from WA, he says that these MP people think that they can deceive us again because they were able to deceive us in 2016. This time, the Ghanaian voter is very wise up and can't be deceived again. And then this one also says that Idrusu Alassane from Breman Esiam in the central region, he said, major youths in this country are beyond deception, including me. Are we really serious as a country? How can a whole political party to lead comes with a manifesto? Serious countries supposed to have national agenda or plan. And this is something I've said many times. We cannot be managed by the vision of an individual. We need to have a national plan, a national policy, governed by that policy. But we are a country where someone has his vision. This is the path I want the country to go. So whether we like it or not, we'll all go and queue and vote for them because we don't have a policy for them to follow. And then also, this one, he's talking about Manchester City and Chelsea. One thing that differentiates Manchester City and other teams is that Man City necessarily do not have to play good and win, but other teams cannot afford to play even average and win. Considering Chelsea versus Man City match from George in Swame. I'm going to the tactical board as Teacher Karim joins us on the show.
You know what Karim has done to me? The Twitter caption that he was posting about what I was doing here, he described me as teacher.
Teacher Achu.
I didn't like the caption, but he took a very diabolical photo. That makes me look like I'm a teacher.
Karim.
Yes.
This new shoe you go buy. Hey, see it on TV.
Bro, you brought the Steves. Karim with the Steves.
Why are you focusing on my shoes? I want you to focus on what I'm doing here.
What are you doing, Karim?
I want you to focus on what I'm doing here.
But the shoe is really nice.
Yes, thank you.
It's really nice. How much did you buy it?
My friend, what are you doing?
I hear Sicho is your plug when it comes to sneakers like this. But this one a bit dope, Karim. This one a bit dope.
It's my costume director.
Karim is a big man.
Oh, Karim. What do you have for us tonight?
You see, I'm pressing my phone. Something is missing.
What is missing?
Something is missing. Daniel Cranty.
He's missing.
He didn't tell me he was not coming. I wanted to do the presentation, which I'm texting him. I wanted to call and see if you answer so that we do the thing together.
No, he's lying next to his wife, please.
Charlie,
we don't want that.
Maybe he's gone on a second honeymoon.
Karim, I can see your team out there.
Yes, it's the first weekend after the new season and the guys are really balling. I just finished watching Abdul Fattah Issahaku make his Premier League debut and he didn't fail to impress. He took the opportunity, provided the assist that got Leicester the equalizer against Tottenham. And if not, he was playing on Monday night. If it was yesterday that he played like this, he would have probably been here. That's why some people see the team and don't understand why, they've seen Fattah play so well and he's not in your team. What are you talking about? This is why he's not here. Playing on Monday night, it's not so easy to fix him on the graphic, and so that's why he will not be here. But if...
So if I were you, assuming he had played on Sunday or Saturday,
yes,
which player would have taken out and replaced him?
On Sunday or Saturday, I would have taken Kudus from here and brought him here.
To Amuzu, Amuzu's place, and put Fattah there. So just use your hand and cover Amuzu, and let's assume that Fattah is inside there.
He deserves to be there. Actually, he also deserves to be there. That's why he's there.
Okay,
but
take us
today,
to the team.
If there was Black Stars call-up, one name that should be on that team sheet is Ransford Yabuakonisdorfer.
Okay.
He has played 3 games this season, and in those 3 games, he has 4 goal contributions.
Wow. 2
of them in the German Bundesliga 2, and in those 2 games he has played there, he has scored 3 goals.
I see.
That was over the weekend. They played against Meppen in the DFB Pokal, and he provided an assist. Maybe this is his time to shine for the Black Stars. There will not be so many games played before the September AFCON qualifiers. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to grab and show that he deserves to a starting role in the Black Stars. Then another player, the only one to score in the top 5 leagues for the, of the Ghanaian players in Europe is Antoine Semenyo. Solanke has gone to Tottenham. Sito was talking about him being trusted more, and he's showing that he can be trusted and took his opportunity when he got the chance against Nottingham Forest on Saturday and scored his first goal of the season. Last season, he scored 8 goals, and that was his joint highest. And this season, after match day 1, he has won. Maybe he'll be going beyond that this season. Then I was talking about Amuzu. He scored a brilliant goal for Anderlecht when they won 3-0 over the weekend. And it was really from a tight angle, and he did so well. You are seeing goals like that being scored by Ousmane Dembele. Then Antoine Joseph Wollacott. It's now that we are coming to see that the Black Stars, the goalkeeping department, there will be competition there. Wollacott is now back in the English leagues, that is in League One, playing for Crawley Town, and in their game against Cambridge United in the EFL Cup. He kept a clean sheet in 3 games, his first clean sheet of the season. Then Ali Duseidu, he played for Stade Rennais in their Ligue 1 opener against Lyon. In that game, he played actually as a left back, and he impressed so well that in the game, he was the player that has made the most defensive actions, blocks, interceptions, he was everywhere for them playing at left back. And they won 3-0 against Lyon. And as Newman played 75 or so minutes for Lyon, but couldn't help them get a positive result from there. One man that has really done well over the weekend is Abdul Mumin. He played for Rayo Vallecano and they won 2-1 against Real Sociedad, and he provided an assist. The drive he made to provide that assist was like a typical midfielder, a central midfielder that was moving with the ball and lay it off to the Frutos to score the goal for them, and they won that game by 2-1. Then another player, the two center backs are providing assists here. Then Jerome Opoku also provided an assist for his team, that is Besiktas here, and they won 2-1 or is it 3-0 against Alanyaspor in the Turkish Super League. Another player here at left back, Godfried Frimpong. He plays for Moreirense, that is in the Portuguese league, and they won 3-1 against Aroca. In that game, he created the most chances of any player. Then Abu Francis, this guy is really building up. He got his opportunity with the Black Stars and he has grabbed it. Maybe with this performance over the weekend, he plays for Cercle Brugge and they drew 1-1 against OH Leuven. And in that game, he was the player that has completed the most passes and also the player that has won the most tackles. 4 of them he attempted and won all of them. And for Arsenal, Thomas Partey, in the game against Wolves, he was just doing normal things Thomas Partey do if he's fit. And when he continues at that rate, he's in the final year of his contract. Maybe Arteta, the trust he has in him, you give him a new contract. He created 4 chances.
He should have given him that contract long ago.
Not long ago. He doesn't deserve it if he's not fit to be on the pitch. He should be on the pitch. He'll get the contract.
I suggested that Partey is not always on the pitch.
He's not always on the pitch.
Where is he?
He's always on the
medical bed.
The bed going to the hospital.
Karim, that was quite an exhaustive team for the week. But, Sicho, do you have any reservations with Karim's team?
No, I think they picked a good team. I think his team was good. Decent start by a lot of Ghanaians this weekend. I watched Mumin play. He was brilliant. I saw Partey as well playing, especially in that first half. I tweeted that Arsenal must, at all costs, keep Thomas Partey fit. When he plays, they are so smooth. When he's in his groove, they are very smooth. And once they targeted Partey and they put a lot more pressure on him and denied him the space to control game for Arsenal, Arsenal lost a bit of momentum. So he's so important for Arsenal. And I think that if he stays fit, Arsenal may as well challenge it. Maybe then this could be there, even though I've already said I think City would win.
City will win. Yeah, you are back in City.
But I was very happy with the performance of Abdul Mumin. The trait he showed, especially in that assist he created, is something none of our Black Star centre-backs are capable of. Someone who can drive the ball forward and carry the ball into central areas, riding tackles. And it was not as if there was a chasm that he was running through. There were attempts to nick the ball off him, but he seemed to be able to ride those tackles. And that is the profile we don't have in the team. And I'm sure Otuado will be taking key notice of that. The timing of that performance as well. I'm sure around this time, they are fine-tuning whatever plan they have, if they've not already firmed it up for the September 5th match. You expect that at least the invites have already gone out for some of those players. So it is good that you have all of these players playing well around this time. What it means is that they come into the Black Stars team high on confidence, and that already will translate into some good team chemistry or team, the atmosphere around the team, players feeling very positive and good about themselves, because you're not going to have a lot of time to train and talk tactics and all of that. You will have to rely on the form and the
you must walk in and be ready.
That they are coming from their club sides. And it's good that we have this many players doing well around this time.
Many players doing well around this time. Karim, thanks very much for joining us. And you have to show me where you got this. I hope to get the same. If I don't get the same, I'll come for yours.
You can't afford it.
I can't afford it.
Can't.
Wow. This might be very expensive.
Karim's plug is
wow.
You can't afford it.
So you brought the money from Band-Aid to go and buy this.
Let me go before something else. They say something else.
Thank you very much for joining us, Karim. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, let me do some quick messages, then we'll take you to England and bring you highlights of matches that were played. We'll look at how Fulham lost to Manchester United. Zexy, or is it Zexy? Or is it Sexy?
Zexy.
Joja Zexy.
Sexy, Zexy. Say after me.
It is late night.
Sexy, Zexy.
Huh?
Sexy Zegzy.
Hang on. I'm doing messages. Sexy.
Yes.
Okay, Zegzy.
You just repeated the name.
This message is coming from Innocent, who is in Volta region. He says that we are seriously tired of those fake promises. They are just saying things they can't do. And even if they try to do it, they will not finish. They are wasting our resources. They should go and sleep and never dream to come to power again. This one to Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm. He says that, there you people go again. For God's sake, we are dealing with the current government in power with their failed promises. So let's deal with theirs first. The poor Ghanaian taxes are paid to this, for this government to be used to improve our standards of living. So if we are not getting the results, then we should hold them responsible. When the time comes for the NDC into power, then we can begin to talk about them. Until then, let's focus on this government and the promises to improve our sporting activities in this country.
But did they know?
Mustafa, Muftao, my regards to you and your colleagues. This one from Babam Nuba, or the sports governor. He says, he sent a message from Jirapa in the upper voice. He said, good evening, sports zone. Our leaders only seize the problems when they want power. But after then, that is all. They forget. We have no national policy for our sports, which is very true. Just last year that they started working on one. We don't have a national policy. They are working on one right now. I don't know how far they've gone with it. The likes of Dr. Enes Cranton, Dr. Bello Bitugu are members of that policy team that are working on that policy document. I don't know how far they've gone. I was privileged to have gotten a draft document of that. But since then, I haven't been let into the inner details of what has been happening with that policy document. I stopped watching when he said he would buy buses for the Premier League teams. I felt insulted.
I didn't say it. Okay, he's talking about what?
Yes, he said he felt insulted. And then good evening, boss. I appreciate you all that continue to do the good job. I keep it up from Mukisi Suleiman from Kede Daman in Zongo. Let's bring you highlights of how Manchester United got their first win of the season when they came up against Fulham. As Achi would pronounce, Sexy Zegzy scored the only goal as they won by 1-0. Sexy Zegzy on his Manchester United debut got a win. I'm sure Achi might have been very happy watching that pan out. Were you happy?
It was awesome. I mean, this is elite stuff. Debut goal.
I can't wait. I can't wait till we get to April.
So, goal on his debut, match winner on his debut, secured 3 points, all in a day's work.
Under who?
What else can you
Under
ask?
who?
Doesn't matter. You see, that is what even makes it more remarkable. Under Eric Ten Hag, and he's doing this. Give him to Pep, Maradona. one week under Pep, you'll be talking about Maradona.
Really?
Sexy Zegzy is the real deal.
Actually, did you see anything to suggest that he's a real deal?
No, I've seen a lot of him from last season. I'm a big fan of the Serie A. I saw him at Bologna under Thiago Motta. Plays very well. He links up play very well. And we saw cameo of that when he came onto the game for Man United. He's the proper number 9 who was taking it around the box.
That is a 9.5.
I think there's that, yeah. So he would drop deep, link up play, try to be involved with the game. And if you look at the goal he scored, he dropped into midfield, picked the ball, spread the game to the far side, then it was teed up to Dalot. By the time Dalot crossed the ball, he was on the edge of the box. That's the kind of player he is. Most of the goals he scores is when he's arriving in the box. So yeah, it was a great debut for him. But United will look back on that game, and as many managers have said, their teams are not ready and set for what is to come. And so that's what Eric Ten Hag will be pleased about, that even though the whole game, he will look at it and know that they left so much spaces that a better team than Fulham would have hurt them. He's glad that they kept a clean sheet. He will be glad that they in the end won the game. And just that win and the positive feel about it is a lot better. I thought they played way better than they played around last season around this time. But yeah, there's still some problems in the side, and he knows better than anyone that he has to fix them.
He knows better than anyone that he has to fix them. Let's go to Ipswich versus Liverpool. And guess what? Mohamed Salah has scored on the opening day of every single Premier League game in 9 out of 10. Wow. He was on the score sheet once again.
9 seasons.
9 seasons. apart from last season was the only season he didn't score on the opening day. 9 seasons he scored.
That's a Premier League
on match day 1.
That's a Premier League record.
Wow. The Egyptian Pharaoh. Let's go for the highlights of Liverpool versus Ipswich Town. For Daniel Cranton and Karim here, it came from Pelu. He says that what at all have you done to Benin? That's Karim. That he can't do a show without mentioning your name. So Daniel Cranton, you have to send us a message and answer that question. He needs to understand, because anytime Karim is here, he has to mention Daniel Cranton's name. I don't know. I don't know if they were competing for his wife before Daniel Cranton went and married her or what. I can't understand Karim's problem. The gentlemen, we saw the highlights gone by. Liverpool versus Ipswich Town. First game for Ancelotti. Win for him. Mohamed Salah. You have always argued that in the last, 6, 7, 8 Premier League seasons, Mohamed Salah is arguably one of the best players of the competition.
No, there's no doubt about it. Whenever the season is about to start, when Salah got to the Premier League first season, he took it by storm and many were stunned. The question many asked was, can he repeat it? And he's ever since repeated it every single season. He's been Liverpool's surest goal scorer. They brought in many players to complement that. None of them have been able to topple him. And the thing about Salah is he only doesn't score. He creates more than anyone else within the team and assists more than anyone else within the team. So when it comes to goals, it's Mo Salah. I thought Liverpool struggled in the first half, and you would expect it. When you play against a team like Ipswich, you're back in the Premier League after 2 decades. The places, the Portman Stadium is buoyant, the fans are loud, the players are showing lots of energy, winning tackles, 50-50, aggressive. But the question was how long they were going to be continue to keep that momentum and that energy levels going. And in the second half, what Liverpool did was to play the ball around the energy. In the first half, they were going very physical. But what Liverpool tried to do in the second half was to just play the ball around their running, play the ball around their pressing. And once Mohamed Salah got the spaces, he picked out Jota. And Jota could have scored a goal before his goal, but he picked up Jota for the first, and then he himself applied the finishing touch to the second. So Ancelot's reign, or start of his reign, it's looked good. I liked him in the second half.
Actually, we had a conversation about Ancelot before the opening game of the season, and in fact, you were actually even talking about as a new man coming into a Liverpool setup, you did not have so much expectations of what he was going to deliver, but. It just marked the 37 more matches to play. But did you see anything to suggest that this Liverpool team could be buying into what he's brought into their setup?
I think so. I think the most important thing is his capacity to glean as much information from the team as possible in a very short period of time. So if you listen to two things, his comments after the game and Mohamed Salah's, if you were a Liverpool fan, you would take a lot from it, because Mohamed Salah said that he was trying to get them to depart from Jurgen Klopp's principles, and they are ready to do that, and they are prepared to listen to that. That is refreshing to hear that the players are prepared to go. And Salah is one of the biggest characters in the dressing room, if not the biggest. Yeah. And the other for me was also what Slot himself said in his assessment of that first half and the decisions, the changes that he had to make. So you realize that at halftime he hooked Kwanzaa, and his explanation was simple. He said they were losing too many duels, and he didn't understand why Kwanzaa was losing as many duels. In that area. For this is Ipswich. This is not an established Premier League team, and you expected him to show a bit more composure and to show a bit more quality. But it also goes to show that beyond all the noise that Liverpool fans make about Kwanzaa himself, to put it loosely, he no reach. It will take a while for him to get to
in the Ghanaian balance.
Exactly. But I like the candor of Ancelot, something a lot of Dutch managers have about them. Very frank, very candid, and very straightforward. And he knew that whilst it is important to allow Kwanzaa to learn from his mistakes, you cannot sacrifice the progress of the team and 3 points on the opening day for Kwanzaa to figure that out. So he needed to protect the player and to protect the team. So he showed up and said, whatever they conceded in that first half was not because it had nothing to do with tactics. He said, if you're losing all of your duels, we can't talk about tactics. So the whole idea was just get closer and make sure that you are picking up all of those loose balls. at the end of, that is after winning those 50-50 balls. If you don't win them, pick those loose balls. And that's what Liverpool did. And once they did, they got into their group. And for me, I'll maintain that, look, nobody should expect him to go and challenge for the title. If last season the team was not good enough for Klopp to compete for the Premier League title at the beginning until he worked his magic, it will not be fair to expect that Slot goes out there and then wins the Premier League trophy. I like the fact that he's coached this team, and from that opening game, they set up in a manner that reflects a certain appreciation of the weakness in that team. So he knows that they don't have a quality holding midfielder. He's trying to convert Ryan Gravenberch into that midfielder. But before Gravenberch gets to the point where you can trust him, he needs to set the team up in a manner that allows them to be very compact and defend well. And that's what he did, and he got the results for him.
Talk to me about Arsenal.
No, I thought the first half was great. Second half, they lost their way a little bit, but then the Saka goal killed the momentum when they were losing or brought them back to the place. And that is what good teams do. There are spells where they are not looking good, but somebody just switches on the magic and it's gone. I thought that Saka on the day was good. Thomas Partey, like I said in the first half, was brilliant. And for Arsenal, that is what they need to do. And I like the fact that he was able to take off a player like Saka and then bring others on. We've seen something about Arsenal from 2 seasons ago where their more important players would have to play every single minute. But now he can rest some of these big boys because a long season, he has to manage their season and keep them fresh all the time. When the real title challenge comes around, when that curve is, we are bending that curve is somewhere around January. So yeah, I liked what they did. It was clean.
Let me just stay with you on Chelsea. Chelsea, top 2 against Man City at Stamford Bridge. Enzo has walked in at the wrong time.
No, look.
He has never managed at that level. He's come to meet, like...
Look, it's a huge opportunity for him. Every manager's dream would be to manage in the Premier League. So when they have an opportunity to manage in the Premier League, and it is Chelsea, a huge club, it's a club that wins titles, won every single title.
It's a huge club.
Chelsea's a huge club. It is. Sorry. Chelsea's a huge club. The fans at the Bridge now still expect Chelsea to be competing for laurels. So when the new owners walk in and say they need time, 5 to 10 years project, I guarantee them, the fans at Stamford Bridge won't have that patience because they know how to win. They know what it means for their team to win titles, and they are impatient when the team is losing. So yeah, but Enzo comes into the side, and he's spoken so much about how he wants his team to play and his style, and how he's going to get his team to be dominating in the game and maybe then push them on to win titles. I saw them against City, and City were not even at their best, but Pep Guardiola is a genius in the way he coached that game. I thought what he did to create Chelsea's problems, to create problems for Chelsea, was how he used the wingers in Doku and Salvio, especially in that first half. He almost reminded me of what he did some 4 years ago with Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling as typical wingers. The Pep Guardiola in the last 3 years or so has moved away from players taking on players. It's coming to a place where the team is more careful in possession. But it gave Doku and Salvio the license to take more risk on taking on players. And so 1v1s, Chelsea struggled. But that midfield 4 he played as well was dangerous for Chelsea. Because Chelsea had Lavia, Enzo, and Caicedo in the middle of the park, which is 3. But City had Rico Lewis playing on the right side of the diamond, and then De Bruyne playing on the left. There was Bernardo Silva at the tip, and the Kovacic at the base. That is 4. So they actually caged Chelsea's midfield a little bit. But the thing is this, Chelsea still had the chances to cause City problems. But it was just like we saw from last season. And it's not surprised that every single player who started that game was there from last season. So you wonder how Chelsea have improved their team and how they are fixing the goal-scoring problem. Because Kuku was off, Jackson was off. Surely Palmer didn't get into goal-scoring places. So Chelsea. Enzo has to solve that one.
Chelsea. And many people go like, the kind of play, how do you come and match Pep on his own system? And not be teach you. I beg. Teach you. In 30 seconds, Real Madrid, or let me go to Achu. In 30 seconds, Real Madrid versus Mallorca. Did you see this coming?
No one saw that coming. I think they false started. But it perhaps is also an insight into one of the things that Carlo Ancelotti absolutely cannot try. That mini conversation between Vinicius, Bellingham, and then Mbappe at halftime when Bellingham was telling them the need for them to put away some of those chances because the team lacked balance, and so he was required to track back far more than he would have loved to do. perhaps should give Ancelotti a bit more insight into what he should not attempt to do with this team. But the good news for Madrid fans is that's exactly the sort of problem that Ancelotti has made his career solving.
Ancelotti must solve those problems. Show proudly brought to you by Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. Kivo 4-in-1 Gary soakings are easy, and Guinness Ghana Brewery Limited. They have made it possible for us to bring you Sports Zone. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your company. We'll be back again next week, Monday.